Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Area 3 Conference. Thank you for joining us today. We greatly value your participation and feedback. I am Jan Bryant, your Area 3 representative. The Illinois Retired Teachers Association is geographically split into 6 areas. Area 3 comprises members living in the state's eastern counties in the center of the state. I serve as your area representative on the association's board of directors. Today, you will hear all about the latest news and information from the association, our lobbyist and legislative affairs team, the political action committee, our TRS annuitant trustees, and recently completed external organizational assessment and member benefits from our great partners at AMBA. This conference will be recorded to share with other members who could not be with us today. Chats in the lounge or in speed networking are not being recorded. During today's virtual conference, the IRTA expects all members to observe all meeting etiquette rules, the same as if you were attending this meeting in person. Shortly, I will introduce our first speaker. During a speaker's presentation, I encourage you to write any questions you have in the Q&A dialog box to the right of your screen. You may also use the raise hand feature to ask your question live if your computer or device is capable. If you click the raise hand feature, the AirMeet technical host will bring you on stage to ask your question live. Additionally, for the hearing impaired, I encourage you to use the closed captioning feature. The closed captions are computer generated, although not perfect. They are rated to be approximately 90% accurate and will surely be a boost for anyone who cannot hear very well. Click the CC button underneath your video window to toggle the closed captions on. Before we begin, we have 2 $50 gift cards to give out as door prizes. 2 more $50 gift cards will be given out at the conclusion of the meeting. Per the motion passed by the board of directors, members eligible for the door prize must have registered and be present to win. The staff has entered the names of all the registered members into the wheel of names. And let's now give the wheel of names a spin to see our first winners. Congratulations, Carol Sagalos Lipska, first winner. Congratulations, Diane Jerry. I will return at the conclusion of the conference for final remarks and to spin the wheel 2 more times for 2 more winners. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the president of the Illinois Retired Teachers Association, John Flaherty, for the State of the Association address. John?
Good morning. I want to thank all of you for being members of our Illinois Retired Teachers Association. We are able to stay a strong and vital force that fights to protect our pensions and benefits because of the strength and support of our members. I extend an enthusiastic welcome to your area representative for hosting this event, our Vice President, Bill Funkhauser, members of the Board of Directors, IRTA Executive Director Jim Bachman, and the IRTA staff, and all others in participation today. It is exciting to be here with you at this, our first virtual area conference of this association. Because this has been a year filled with unprecedented experiences and challenges for countless organizations, many of you may be wondering how our association is doing. Therefore, I want to begin the conference by first assuring all of you that the association is strong and secure. Here are a couple examples. Membership continues to steadily increase. During the past 5 years, the IRTA has outperformed peer associations who reported just 2% growth. Our association performed at 7% growth. The national median performance was 5% growth. Our renewal rate is statistically significant. In each of the last 5 years, the association experienced 90% retention. The mean renewal rate for individual membership associations is 78% nationwide. Today, we are more than 39,000 members. Membership growth and renewal success is attributed to systemic membership changes made by the membership committee led by our committee chair, Mike Schmidt, with the assistance of the Director of Marketing and Membership, Nathan Mihalich. It is important that I point out that these successes are especially noteworthy given that the association is impacted with a passing of approximately 80 members every month. The member loss is a sobering fact and demonstrates that our commitment and investment in membership efforts cannot be underscored strongly enough and must continue. The association is financially strong thanks to skilled fiscal management by the Board of Directors and Executive Director Jim Bachman. The association reports close to $2 million in total equity as of today. In 2020, donations to the foundation exceeded all previous years on record at $360,000. This was up from $293,000 in 2019 and $320,000 in 2018. Programs supported included grants to current teachers, scholarships, and housing assistance. In the election year that was 2020, the Political Action Committee's income and political donations equaled approximately $75,000 each. Total expenses were $123,000. Membership in the $1 per month PAC donation program is at 5,526 members. We eagerly encourage everyone to join. The amount in the Legal Defense Fund was at $153,000 as of December. With all of our external challenges, the association, foundation, and political action committee each continue to fulfill their missions at every level. We have fulfilled these purposes with a combination of new practices, agility, and with fortitude for success. Two of our most recent great achievements were: one, the successful virtual mentoring program. The virtual mentoring program, executed by Jim Bachman and the association staff, matched any Illinois student with a retired mentoree and tutor during the early months of the pandemic when school was at home and both teacher and student were new to learning virtually. The program was offered free of charge to students of any level of assistance. The program was a tremendous success, and the association received exceptional media exposure for our selfless retiree volunteers who gave countless hours during a period of great need. Second was the We Care program, in collaboration with AARP to let our members, many of whom were homebound, know that they are cared for and thought of during the most anxious early months of the pandemic. The association reached out via Facebook and email for this popular program, and we hosted a virtual webinar to offer support and listen to their stories. All were very well received and appreciated. It is clear that the pandemic brought about changes to how our organization operates. I am proud and thankful to see how smoothly we were able to roll out our virtual meetings, to get work done via telework, and to perform with flexibility while adjusting many activities conducted by the association. There may even be more changes required in the future, however. Therefore, to make sure that our association remains valuable and meaningful, we need to reevaluate this organization, beginning with the Constitution and the bylaws, and we recently conducted a needs analysis of day-to-day operations. The Executive Committee hired an independent consultant to analyze our constitutional structure and existing operations. Final recommendations from the consultant included changes to our Constitution so we can operate more virtually, a more realistic role to the responsibility of volunteers, and a full analysis of boards and committees to determine if each is meeting the needs of our membership. As delegates to our biennial convention in Springfield in October, you will be voting on several of these proposed changes. I would encourage all of you who are interested in attending to work with your local units and become delegates to our convention. October's biennial convention is the most important business meeting for the association, and this is where we elect leadership, set policies, and procedures for our organization. As we look forward, we will use the resulting recommendations, the progresses already made because of the pandemic, and our overall flexibilities as a platform to us to speed up our transformation to an organization so that we will continue to grow and prosper and always be prepared for the unexpected. Thank you for allowing me to describe the present status of the association. Thank you again for attending this virtual conference. Let's begin with the formal program. Our first presentation is from our Legislative and Government Affairs team that will give a legislative update. And if you followed the recent legislative session, as I did, I know you may all have some concerns. It is my pleasure to introduce the association's Executive Director, Jim Bachman, our association's contractual lobbyist, Andrew Bodewis, and our Legislative Affairs and Grassroots Coordinator, Courtney Hayes. Jim, Andrew, and Courtney.
Well, thank you, John, and good morning, everyone. Today with me, I am Jim Bachman. I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois Retired Teachers Association, and with me today is Courtney Hayes, our Government Affairs Grassroots Coordinator, and Andrew Bodewis, our Contract Lobbyist. It's great to be here with all of you. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about legislation and items that Courtney will be working on in the next couple of months that are pertinent to the association. Let's start off by, I know the last couple of years, Andrew, that we've been working on some health insurance trip refund with the Department of Central Management Services. Can you tell us a little bit about where that legislation is?
Absolutely. So we filed language on Senate Bill 2168 this year that would have allowed for, or does allow for, folks who overpaid their trip or trail premiums to get a refund of that. Currently, CMS limits those refunds to 6 months, and we wanted to expand that to 7 years. And we filed similar legislation a year ago, but because of the pandemic, the General Assembly didn't act on that or really much of anything else. So this year filed Senate Bill 2168. It moved out of the Senate. Unfortunately, it hit a little bit of a snag in the House, but we took the exact same language, brought it over as an amendment to Senate Bill 1056. That was a joint effort from Democrats and Republicans who support the IRTA. They got that amendment filed on 1056, and that bill is now on the consent calendar and is moving along, and we're looking forward to passage.
Well, and I know in the past, in the last few years, and we had passed it previously and the governor had signed it, but we had some difficulties with the department or phrasing of the actual language and so forth. Is the department now on board?
Yes. So we sat down with the department, had multiple phone calls with the sponsors, and with the department, and they understand the group that we're trying to help, and they have agreed that once this comes into law, that they're going to move expeditiously to get those refunds processed.
Is there any other pieces of legislation right now outside of the budget that we are looking and following?
Yeah, so there's a couple of bills out there, and these are familiar bills. We do this every 2 years, but these are the bills that extend the return to work extension. So for folks who have retired, who want to come back and teach either in a subject shortage area or not in a subject shortage area, those things sunset every couple of years, and we have to extend them every couple of years. House Bill 2569 is the subject shortage area, and Senate Bill 1989 is the standard 120-day extension. So both of those bills have moved through without any no votes, and are, again, both are on the consent calendar and both are poised for passage.
And, I'll just stop right here for a moment just to say that if you have any questions, please use your chat or raise your hand function to ask your questions. And at the end of our presentation, we will attempt to answer any and all of those questions. So thank you. Before we go back to Courtney, give me a little bit of idea of what we're doing with the PAC right now, or what are we looking forward to? What are we doing to raise funds?
So right now I'm trying to reach out to all the locals. We are asking for our 2021 IRTA convention. If you can donate anything, any item, they could be monetary donations. So I'm trying to get all of that in order so we can have money for the PAC.
And it's, and obviously those are tremendous things, and it's a lot of fun when we're at convention, when people are bidding on different items and so forth. But it ultimately helps our cause.
Yes.
And what is that cause? Ultimately, that's electing legislators of the future and today, in the present, that support IRTA members' benefits. Andrew, tell me where we're at on budget these days.
Well, every as you well know, every minute it changes a little bit. From a global perspective, there's a lot of federal money that's coming into the state of Illinois right now, and that should help the state. As everybody knows, the state of Illinois has a long history of having budget woes. The federal money should help, but an interesting thing about the federal money is it's one time, so they can't build it into the budget and increase future year spendings. And the other thing is that it comes with a lot of limitations that are set by the federal government on how it can be spent. It's supposed to be being spent to improve infrastructure, going to school districts to help with them increase and respond to sort of the last couple of years of pandemic impact, do more tutoring, more summer school, things like that. So the federal money is helping a little bit. From our perspective, from the IRTA's perspective, we haven't seen any proposals except for full funding for TRIP and trail programs, so that's critical. There is discussion about a very minor change to the TRS certified amount, and it has to do with a small timing change that the General Assembly is considering. It might reduce the contribution a fraction of a percent. But realistically, the way I would describe it is right now we're looking at full funding for both TRS and TRIP program, which is a good place to be. The governor historically has talked about changing that, but this year we seem to be on pace to get the full funding for both of those programs.
And I know, just as a side, that I have seen that the Thompson Center in Chicago is now for sale, and I know that the governor spoke of last year, I think, in his budget address, that some of that money would actually go to funding of the pensions. Is that still on board, or the sale of some of these?
You know, I think this year's not unlike every other year, where despite the fact that I think we will get full funding, I think it'll be pulling everybody over the line to get there. I always really appreciate when people talk about extra funding, but in 20 years I haven't seen it. I always leave the option open that maybe they'll change.
Right.
But I wouldn't spend that Thompson Center money just yet if I were the funds.
Okay. Courtney, I know that you're going to be working on another project this summer. Can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Sure. So I'm working on developing a legislative contact list, which basically means I'm going to be reaching out to our members in certain areas of the state, just so we have a list to know who would be open and willing to go meet with their legislators if we have any issues concerning whatever it may be. We also have a whole bunch of new legislators who we would like to get our name out. So I would look out for emails from me this summer and go from there.
Yeah, I think the list of grassroots contacts that we can reach out, especially in a year that Andrew, obviously, that one of the last and the final issues, that one of the biggest things that are going on in the General Assembly is the redistricting map. And so from that map, obviously, that we're going to have a lot of new legislators being elected and a lot retiring and so forth. So why don't you tell us a little bit where we're in that process?
Yes, so in the Illinois General Assembly, every 10 years there's a new map. And that means that, and then that is happening right now. As a matter of fact, we've just seen the map. We're still going through it, still analyzing it. So it's brand new, hot off the presses. But what that means is that folks' legislative districts are going to change. I'll just use Springfield as an example. So Springfield used to be divided up, between a couple of different representatives and senators and everything, and that area is completely changed. Quad Cities is another area that doesn't look anything like it used to look. And that's true throughout, and especially as we talk in the suburbs and the city of Chicago, because each rep district is about 100,000 people, each Senate district is about twice that, 230,000 people, 220,000 rather. The districts in Chicago and the suburbs are much smaller than they would be, say, in the southern part of the state. So those areas have really changed a lot. And that means for a lot of you that your rep and senator may change. And so this is a political thing, right? This is a political animal in that these maps are drawn by Democrats in Illinois right now, this time anyway, and last several times. And they are designed to put as many Democrats in the House of Representatives and the Illinois Senate as possible. So there's a lot of political angst. Having said that, that doesn't mean that every Democrat in the House or Senate is necessarily going to be happy with this. So there's a lot of data that's going to be coming out. There'll be a lot of lawsuits on all of this. At this point, all we have are proposals. But it'll certainly be an issue that really impacts every one of our members. And as that changes and as that forecasts what the future of the General Assembly looks like. As part of that process, there'll be retirements, there'll be new folks that are coming in, and the state IRTA is going to be really working to develop a lot of new relationships. And we've had some experience with this every couple of years for the last few times. We've had a lot of new people come in, but that will amp up over the next 2 and 4 years.
Well, I think that also obviously adds to the whole conversations, the whole use of what data we're using in the census data, that we really haven't got a complete data report and so forth, and so there are estimations, and so I'm sure that a lot of it will be in the courts and be settled by the courts at the end of the day. Just a final last note on some of the things that is crucial that I continue all that if you've not signed on to Voter Voice yet, I please advise you to do that. The critical times of the session, we reach out to all of our members that we have emails to on Voter Voice and telling them about issues and telling them, once you're registered in the Voter Voice platform, you actually immediately are put in your legislative districts, and so when you respond to them, they immediately get your email. So I ask you wholeheartedly to sign on to the Voter Voice. So once again, thank you for all, and we'll move on now to obviously answering your questions.
Yeah, it's
I know. Oh God, I'm going. Oh God.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here with Andrew Bodavis and Courtney Hayes. We have a few questions this morning. Andrew, I know that the General Assembly is back this week. Is anything that they'll be doing impacting retired teachers?
So no, not really. They're coming back today and tomorrow. I think most of their effort's going to be spent on changing some utility regulation stuff and promoting some green energy things like that. There is a technical change they need to do to enact the budget. It was literally just a typo in the underlying bill. So I guess that sort of indirectly impacts us, but again, nothing really controversial there. A few other cleanup issues, and then the other controversial issue that they're discussing today and tomorrow will be the elected school board in Chicago, which right now looks likely to pass.
Great. So I know that there was additional federal money that was actually earmarked for the schools in the budget. How did that go, or what was the ultimate outcome with that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's huge amounts of federal dollars that are flooding in through every facet of state government, and most especially through K through 12 education. A lot of that money is kind of really targeted on how it can be spent by the federal government, and further targeted by some state stipulations. So right now we're seeing the majority of that go into tutoring and summer school programs. It hangs around for the next 3 years, so the school district doesn't have to spend it all up front. But that was one of the reasons we wanted to focus so much and make sure that we got the extensions on the return to work and subject shortage area return to work, because we know there's going to be a lot more money spent there.
Okay, and just with the speaker not being the Speaker Madigan any longer, how's that affected things in Springfield over this spring? Yeah,
so Madigan's gone, and it's not just Madigan, really. We right before the pandemic started, the Senate President came in, President Harmon, so he hasn't been around very long. Senator McConkey came in during the pandemic, so he hasn't been around very long. The only leader that's been around for more than a year and a half is Jim Durkin, who's the House Republican Minority Leader. But the most impactful, meaningful, I think, to everybody feels like the Madigan changeover, just because Madigan has been here since the 80s and has been speaker for 35 of the last 37 years. Short answer is we don't know. Welch seems to be doing a pretty good job so far. He's had a pretty high victory count for what he wanted to get done this year. The General Assembly certainly seems a lot less top down. But it's still a little too new to call.
Okay, well, seeing that we have no other questions at this moment, it's my pleasure to introduce Ed Woolett, who is our Political Action Committee Chairman.
Hello, my name is Ed Woolett. For the past several years, I have chaired the IRTA PAC committee. The committee is composed of 18 regional representatives and the chair. There are current vacancies on the committee from regions 4, 5, 8, 10, 11, and 12. If these vacancies remain unfilled, the members from those regions will have no voice during the 2022 endorsement and election cycle. Please consider a member you know who might want to fill a vacancy. The Illinois Retired Teachers Political Action Committee, IRTA PAC, was conceived as a way for our members to support General Assembly candidates who pledged to support retiree benefits and issues. Candidates for governor were later added to those eligible for IRTA PAC endorsement. Endorsements are based on supportive issues, and no consideration is given to political party or other non-member issues. To be considered for endorsement, a candidate must complete a questionnaire developed by the PAC committee with cooperation from the IRTA staff. Once reviewed, approved candidates are scrutinized by looking at their voting records and/or campaign platforms, recommendations from local units, and staff input. Final endorsed candidates are eligible to receive PAC monies, letters of endorsement, use of IRTA logo and campaign literature, and advertisements, IRTA yard signs, and more. During the last election cycle, 35 of the 45 IRTA endorsed candidates were successful in their election bid. The lifeblood of IRTA PAC is the monetary donations received. Many of you will remember passing the hat at local meetings to support the work of the PAC. Several years ago, a second option was added, the $1 per month club. Members can sign up to have $1 deducted from their monthly pensions designated to go to the PAC fund. Over the years, the $1 club has outpaced all other methods and provides about $5 for every $1 raised by other means. We can do better. Of approximately 38,000 members, only about 5,500 have signed up. That number should be much higher. And as area representatives, you can help and be our biggest cheerleaders. Another means of funding occurs at our biennial convention. The monies raised by the silent auction of local unit donated items go to the PAC fund. Many of you will remember 2011 through 2013. The General Assembly had voted to substantially reduce public employee pension benefits. That assault was successfully challenged and ultimately averted by the IRTA. The case bears the name of IRTA member Doris Heaton in Heaton v. Quinn, but the cost was high, over $500,000. Supporting IRTA PAC $1 per month club can help save us expensive litigation and years of uncertainty by helping to elect those who in turn will support us. Please help us by asking each member in your area to join the PAC fund and each local to support the biennial raffle. Thank you for inviting me to your area conference, and I'm open to any questions.
Well, let me turn my camera on. There we go. Good morning. And again, thank you for inviting me to the area conference. I'm looking to see if there are any questions. And if you have none, then I would reiterate a couple of things. Area 3 has 2 vacancies. The vacancies are in regions 4 and 11. And again, that person, that regional representative on the PAC committee is crucial for giving representation to those members in those regions for endorsement of candidates. And of course, as John Flaherty and I said in my video, that becomes imperative when legislation is being considered. One region that downstate came very close to electing a representative who frankly has no use for pensions for public employees, and could have been a crucial vote on that legislation. So electing a person that supports us is critical. Our next meeting, the IRTA PAC meeting, will be September 9th. But again, please look in regions 4 and 11 for a representative that would come. The endorsement year will be next year. We'll set that up on September 9th. So again, it's critical that we have them in place at that time. Again, not seeing any questions. I would now like to introduce Larry Pfeiffer and Doug Strand, who represent us very well on the TRS Board of Directors. So, Larry and Doug, you're on.
Thank you, Ed. Hi, friends. It's good to be back with you, even if virtually. I do miss the days of the face-to-face meetings, but until that happens, I guess we're going to rely on these and social distancing and getting vaxxed up. So that there is an end in sight. I truly believe that. So, well, let's go over a few numbers today as we talk about an update on your pension system. And I want to thank my friend and communication director, Dave Urbanek at TRS, for getting me the numbers, and there's lots and lots of them. So let's get started. Unfortunately, we're going to start with kind of a somber and a sad statistic. To date, we've lost 416 members, both active and annuitants, due to the virus. And I hope you share with me just a brief moment of silence and keeping their memory and their spirit alive in our hearts. It is sad that this pandemic has had such a large impact on us all. Let's talk a little bit more about the hard numbers of TRS. You can take a look at what our finances were, just a whisker under $60 billion. Keep in mind this was fiscal year numbers. They're showing $54.9 billion. You'll see here in just a bit that the numbers over the last 16 months have been literally all over the board. Revenue this year was about $6.2 billion. Our benefits paid out, and this is the part that you're interested in. Your monthly checks have come, and they're over $7 billion. Investment returns just for the fiscal year, net of fees, was just a little bit over 0.5%. But we'll talk more about that later. Let's skip down to our funding status. We're around 40.5%. Yes, that's low, but that number has been pretty static for about the last 20 years. We're still a very, very large pension system. Let's talk about our membership. What makes up a TRS member? You'll see it's about a third between actives, inactives, and folks like us, benefit recipients. The average pension paid out is about $60,000. Now, let's break down membership breakdown a little farther. We're all active, we're all Tier 1 members. You're noticing that there are more and more Tier 2 members. And it looks like just in about 3-4 years, we're going to be about 50-50 split between the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 members. But at the same time, I know you're interested in just the Tier 1, our current benefits. I would show you that we have an active member out there still teaching in the classroom at 81 years of age, and that makes me smile. We see that our oldest TRS retiree is 109 years of age, and then there's a few other numbers in there for you to skim through. Let's talk a little bit about what happened in 2020 and the challenges and how TRS responded to them. Top line, bold, underlined, TRS member services were unaffected. And that is incredible given the circumstances we had as TRS. Their staff did a significant amount of work from home, but yet unaffected membership benefits were processed. In addition to that, we had an increase in claims. More and more people left the profession of teaching and retired. It looks like it was up 3,600, or they processed 3,600 claims. And they still continue to take phone calls, do staffing, meetings, weekly gatherings. I've got to give the staff at TRS a great deal of credit from what my perspective as a trustee has been. Again, if you ever have problems with TRS services, reach out to myself or any other trustee. We'd like to help get you the assistance, but usually we don't have to worry about that. The staff has done a great job, and I give them full credit for working through some really tough times. Our next slide shows you what I call kind of a yo-yo effect of the markets and investing. Look what we were January of 2020. We had about $54 billion in assets, and just a few months later, we were down to 48.5. That's 11.8% drop. We were concerned, but at the same time, I think you'll see a little bit later on, our investments are so diversified and so focused on having upcycle, meaning when the market's good, versus down cycle, we can make money going both directions, or at least minimize those losses. Later that summer, we were at 51.6. Then September, the fall of the year, we're about even at 53.5 billion. And then a year later, we're up to $57 billion, a 17.5% increase from March, the low spot. And then following our latest number is we're just shy at the end of March of $60 billion at $59.3 billion in assets, a 22.3% increase from the market low. Or the next slide, we'll talk about the investment returns, kind of us versus them, and that's always good to look at. If you look at all those numbers crammed in there, I think the most important thing to look at is our long-term, skip down to line 30, our 30-year returns for 18, 19, and 20 are well over 8%. And that's what we as TRS look at, the long-term investing returns, not only for us as annuitants that are already out there retired, but that first-year teacher that has their first deduction taken out and put in the pension system. We have to say, yeah, the pension system will be solvent and be available for you to retire someday as well. And I think it says that very well. Whether you're 85, 65, 45, or 25, TRS will be there for you. Our current rate of, our assumed rate of return is 7%. So we're performing well over the long term. Okay, let's go to the next slide and look at what TRS did in relationship to the world, the rest of the world. See the blue arrow there? No one wants to brag about having a down cycle. We were down 9.95, about 10%. NASDAQ was down 17.8. S&P 500 was down almost 20%, and the Dow Jones was over 26.2%. So you hate to say that you lost less, but we did. We lost less. Something else to keep in mind is TRS has to be very liquid because every month we have to make those payrolls. So we can't have it tied up into long-term commitments. We have to have the liquidity. Liquidity is also good in case there are bargains to be had, and there were several of those that we were able to pick up during some of the market swings that were so volatile. Again, it's worth noting at the bottom of that slide that our 10-year, 20, 30, and 40-year returns, except for the 20-year, which includes in that cycle the down market of 08 and 09, but yet long-term results are very, very good. Let's take a look at our next slide, the challenges that TRS was able to deal with. Retirement, we're up 9% more than a year ago, and over 31 more retirees per month. There's an awful lot of folks that did the big surges, and you can see that they went out during some tough times. What impact do you have with your benefits into the community? TRS economic impacts are big in this state. We have over 250,000 TRS members that live in Illinois, and we have $11.1 billion in earnings, billion with a B. And the economic impact is over $16 billion. You can see that there's a lot of additional data sets that are there, and those numbers are important, I think, to share with elected officials when they talk about the pensions, and you can share about the impact that you personally, as well as the collective group of teachers, active and retirees, have on the Illinois economy as we spend during good times and bad times. Given that, I think it's important to remember, if you have any questions about TRS, I encourage you to contact Member Services, whether they're working in Springfield or from home. They've done a great job in getting you the information you need. My friends here at the Illinois Retired Teachers Association can field your calls, or if you have specific questions for me or would like to start scheduling some upcoming fall and winter meetings, I'd love to get out on the road and see you again. But until that time, stay safe, mask up, get your vaccinations. Be well, my friends.
Hi, my name is Douglas Strand. I'm a retired school teacher from United Township High School in East Moline, Illinois. I am the other retired annuitant who was elected to the TRS board a couple years ago. I am very proud to be a representative of the IRTA and am here to help talk to the different groups concerning the TRS and what we do. One of the challenges that we have today is inflation. You may have heard it on the radio, on TV. It's here. Some people say it's coming. I say it's here. And we need to be very careful about that when we look at investments and the TRS assets under management, known as AUM, assets under management. Larry gave you some statistics. We were up here, we dropped down to 48, we're back up to close to 59.2. And the people there who are making the investments are doing a good job being very careful, looking at inflation, looking at risk, looking at the rewards of the different investments that we make, of which there are over 150 different managers we work with outside of the TRS. It's a big job, and I think they handle it pretty well for the situation they just went through and have gone through over time the last couple decades. I would like to talk to you about another challenge that we have on the TRS board. It is to find a new executive director. We have been without an executive director for a few months now, and we are in the process of trying to find one. There's a search going on at the moment. We have hired an outside firm called Korn Ferry, Kornferry. We've been in discussions with them. They have given us some brief updates. There has nothing been finalized yet. We're waiting to have the candidates brought to us to interview and talk to a little bit more. And what I'm personally looking for is someone who can understand, of course, your investments, all the different indexes, the accounting background. There's also something to be said about marketing, communications, but I believe that the person should be well versed in the accounting and finance area, and have an understanding of people, because the TRS is a people job. You know, you are dealing with thousands of people in their livelihood, not just the 190 some people or more who work at TRS, but the retired educators from across the state. Many of them, again, as Larry pointed out, live in the state. I personally, there's been talk to where should that person come from, whether it's he or her. There was talk about them maybe living outside of Springfield. I personally would like to see the person be part of the Springfield community. Thank you for your time and effort. Have a good summer. Thank you much. Good morning.
Morning, Doug.
Good. Good job again.
And with you as well, my friend. I'm looking on the right-hand side to see if there's questions, and I'm not seeing it at this point. So do you have any final thoughts or comments before we turn it over to our next presenter?
Simply that, as you know, we will not be attending on Thursday the Area 4 meeting because we will be on a computer Cisco WebEx Zoom type meeting Thursday and Friday with the TRS, of which part of that is the interviews with the executive director candidates, of which there are 4. I don't know if you want to make a comment about that, but I'm sorry I'm going to miss that. I am leaving for Wisconsin tomorrow morning, so I will have the computer with me on the way up there. And I have to leave in about 15 minutes because I have a dentist appointment. But it's always good to see you and the IRTA people, and hopefully this was beneficial for everybody. So I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thanks for your input, and it's been beneficial for me just from the listening standpoint. I appreciate everybody's attendance today, their support. I'd like to thank everybody at IRTA as I finish up my first term as a trustee and look to go on to my second term. Actually, I'll be sworn in. So I want to thank you for your past support, your encouragement. I want to thank everybody at IRTA for what they do for not only the association, but for us as members. And I really do appreciate allowing me to learn in my capacity as a trustee on the TRS board. So with that, I'll monitor a little bit if there's any questions that should float in and try to address them. But I now have the distinct honor of introducing to you your next presenter, your Vice President, Bill Funkhauser, who's going to provide you with an update on a survey that was done talking about the operational efficiency of IRTA. With that, goodbye all.
Good morning, everyone. The past 15 months exacerbated present challenges for many organizations including the Illinois Retired Teachers Association. Local units have not been able to meet. Area representatives and regional directors have not been able to visit their units. The IRTA Board of Directors, the Executive Committee, and the standing committees have not been able to meet in person. We have all learned about Zoom meetings, and while it's a good way to take care of business, you miss out on the personal interactions. We have all had to make changes in the way we do things, and this includes the Illinois Retired Teachers Association. With the forced necessity to think about how we do things, it was felt that this would be a good time to take a hard look at our organization. We decided to contract with a consulting firm to do a review of all aspects of IRTA. We sent out a proposal for bids, and after receiving the bids, it was decided to contract with Brewer Pratt Solutions to conduct a review of our organizational effectiveness and provide recommendations for systemic and constitutional changes to ensure the organization remains viable, resilient, and financially strong. To accomplish this, Brewer Pratt used the following processes. First, data-based assessment of relevant materials such as the IRTA Constitution and bylaws. A Zoom-based kickoff meeting with senior staff members. A Zoom-based focus group with board members, 4 or 5 per group. In the first session that I participated in, there were 5 of us, with Elise Brewer Pratt, the chief executive, and Andrew Chamberlain, chief strategist for Brewer Pratt. Andrew is British and had a very nice accent that we enjoyed. With just 5 participants, we were able to have a lot of involvement from each person. An online staff survey and follow-up with one-to-one phone calls. An online full membership survey where an email with a link to the survey was sent to all members who have an email address on file. An online board competency self-assessment exercise where again an email with a link to the exercise was sent to all board members. And an online survey of volunteers who staff the committees where again an email link was sent to this survey to all committee members. After gathering information, Brewer Pratt then compiled a 30-page report with 41 recommendations for possible changes in our organization. The recommendations were grouped into the following categories. First, organization with 11 recommendations, volunteer engagement and management with 12 recommendations, staffing with 6 recommendations, and governance with 12 recommendations. Some of the recommendations are for procedural changes and others constitutional changes. It was easy to see that Andrew had written at least part of the report because his British accent came through with terms such as whilst. After having time to individually review the report, the Executive Committee held a Zoom conference with representatives of Brewer Pratt to go over their recommendations and to ask questions. Then, after having time to consider what was said in the Zoom conference, the Executive Committee held its first in-person meeting since 2019. This gave the members a chance to again ask questions and discuss among themselves the recommendations of the consultants and to decide which of the recommendations the committee feels should be implemented. As a result of this discussion, the Executive Committee will be sending its recommendations for procedural changes to the Board of Directors and recommendations for constitutional changes to the Constitution Committee, who will then decide which possible changes to present to the Delegate Assembly at the convention in October. I will be glad to try and answer any questions that you may have.
Good morning again. I'm looking, I don't see any questions for me right off. I saw one for Larry, but I think Trish has answered that. As I mentioned, the recommendations from Brewer Pratt include things such as procedural changes that we can think about on our own, and the Executive Committee is recommending some of those to the Board of Directors. Among them are things such as developing a strategic plan for our organization, looking forward to what we would like to see our organization look like in 3, 5, or 10 years. And we're going to be proceeding with that hopefully in the next few months. Another one of the procedural changes was as far as conducting the board of directors meetings, having things such as a consent agenda where certain routine items are simply put on the agenda and considered to be adopted by consent unless someone wants to discuss them in detail. In addition to those procedural changes, some of the recommendations made by Brewer Pratt will involve changes to the constitution of our association. And to take care of these, first of all, the executive committee looked them over and sent along to the Constitution Committee their thoughts on these. The Constitution Committee will be meeting on July 7th. At that time, they will look over the recommendations and decide which of the changes being proposed by Brewer Pratt we would like to pursue. Now, I can tell you that there were many things there, and the executive committee's feeling were that we would like to kind of go in steps and look at some of them this time and then see where we go from there, and not necessarily try to accomplish it all at one time. The Constitution Committee then will send its recommendations for the things that it thinks we would like to see pursued at this time to the convention in October for the delegate assembly to make its decision. I would encourage each of you to consider going as a delegate to the convention where you would be involved in taking part with these decisions that are going to be made. Sometimes there are things that maybe minor things, others could be major changes to our organization. So it's important to have involvement of as many people at the delegate assembly as possible. Seeing that there are no questions coming up, I would like to introduce our next presenter, a gentleman who I'm sure many of you have met at your local meetings. He has been around for several years as a representative of AMBA, our benefits advisors group. And I know he has attended meetings throughout the state. Recently, he received a proposal, and he now is the regional manager of AMBA. And so it's going to limit his ability to get out, but I think that he will still get out to some of the meetings because I know he enjoys them. Anyway, I'd like to introduce to you our AMBA regional manager, Larry Newman. Larry, take it away.
Good morning to all Illinois Retired Teacher Association members. My name is Larry Newman, Regional Vice President with AMBA. I've been with AMBA since 2009, starting out as an agent, then as a district manager for the past 8 years, and now in my new role as Vice President of our Midwest region. As I'm speaking, please type any questions that you may have in the chat, and I or one of my colleagues will do the best to answer any questions at the end of my presentation. In my role, I work closely with the staff and Member Benefits Committee to make sure that all members and prospective members have the best-in-class discount programs and benefits designed to work with your current health insurance. AMBA has been in business since 1981, and the partnership we have with the Illinois Retired Teachers Association goes back to 2004. One of the original benefits is the dental program from Emeritus and the vision plan with VSP. I can assure you all that both of these programs remain staples within our suite of benefits and are still a primary reason that a new retiree will hopefully become a member of your association. Over the years, we have added several new discounts and benefits, so be sure to go to your newly designed website and print off a copy of your benefits in the members only section. There you will find 2 of our newest programs, the Children's Whole Life from Mutual of Omaha and the Fixed Indexed Annuity program from Emeritus. I will be providing a few slides about these programs in just a few minutes. I'll also provide you with the contact information of our Illinois District Managers, Nancy Kramer and Gary DeVito. Each of these individuals will be excellent contacts for you to discuss any new programs that you or your family members might have interest in. We will also provide you with a direct QR code so you can request a benefits review via Zoom or in person as we get back to some level of normal. This is something that we have done with thousands of members throughout the crazy year of 2020. We feel you will find this to be an educational and valuable experience. So stay safe and healthy. We look forward to helping you throughout 2021. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Gary DeVito. Lovely day here in Illinois for sure. And just wanted to provide you with a little bit more information on those benefits that Larry was just mentioning. So if you bear with me a second, and I will pull this up and provide you with a little bit more information. And here we go. So this has been a real popular program. It is relatively new. It's a new life insurance program from Mutual of Omaha called Children's Whole Life. And this is for kids anywhere from ages 2 weeks to 17 years old. And our retirees have been buying this up for their as a gift for their grandkids. It also gives them the ability to kind of pass it along to their kids if they want to have their kids buy their own kids some life insurance. Again, for kids anywhere from 2 weeks to 17 years old. There's no medical exam. There's only a couple of health questions. It's really a great value for kids anywhere from 2 weeks to about 4 years old. It's a couple $100s per year for $50,000 of benefit. And when you run the math on that, it would take about 250 years to pay into that to get to that benefit amount, which is for a whole life program is just a tremendous value. The nice thing about this too, it is guaranteed to age 100. It has an insurability rider, which just basically means as that child matures down the road, they have up to 5 times where they can buy more coverage. And these are going to be at certain life events like when they get married, purchase of a home, birth or adoption of a child, and again, at specific ages. So it locks in their insurability down the road. God forbid if something should change with their health. But again, gives them that ability to do that. Just a great value for this kind of a program. And again, some folks are buying it for nieces and nephews. There's all kinds of different options there that you can use this for. In addition to that, one of the things that we hear quite a bit is the concern about outliving savings for our retirees. So for that reason, AMBA has brought forth a relatively new investment program that allows you to put some of your money away in a tax-deferred environment that is getting tremendous returns. One of the programs with this, it's averaged about 4.19% over the last 10 years. With another one, it's about 5.67%. Again, tax-deferred. Basically, what you're doing is taking advantage of the upside in the stock market, but you have a guarantee that you will never lose money when the market does drop. And of course, we never know when that's going to happen. We've seen it happen a number of times in the past where we've seen 30, 40, 50% drops. With this program, you are guaranteed to never lose. Gives you the ability to have a guaranteed income for life. Also, it is a great hedge against inflation. Protects your assets from market risk while taking advantage of the market upside. Again, it has the best of all worlds, really, is what it amounts to. And again, it's a safe haven for your money to be able to put that away and ensure that it's going to be there down the road for you. We do have retirees that have called this a CD killer because CDs are not paying a whole lot, and typically with CDs you have to pay your tax on an annual basis. Again, with this, What's really nice is as you earn more, it does roll further. So you do not have to pay taxes on it until you take it out. So those earnings are truly growing and compounding for you. So it's a great program. It's with Emeritus, who is the same company that brings you your dental benefits. They're an A+ rated company. They've been around for 130 years, and they're a very, very conservative company. They do a great job. There's no underwriting with this. It does give you enhanced liquidity and some long-term care benefits with it as well. Feel free if you'd like. I think Larry mentioned before, there's this QR code. You can hold your smartphone up to this if you'd like to request information about any of our benefits. In addition to that, we are more than happy to come out to your local meetings and speak there, whether that's virtual or whether that's live. We're happy to do it any way that is best for you. And then lastly, I just want to mention a geography teacher told me recently that over in California, one tectonic plate ran into another tectonic plate and said, oops, my fault. With that, I want to hand it over to your Area 3 rep, Jan Bryant. Jan, take it away.
Okay. Before we draw the 2 final door prizes, I do need to thank several individuals who make Area 3 so great. First, our regional directors, Marge Sikansky, Ray Kaufman, and Phil Smith, who serve with me on the board of directors, and then all of our Area 3 local presidents, vice presidents, treasurers, secretaries, and other volunteers. I would also like to thank the association's Director of Membership and Marketing, Nathan Mihalich, for executing the production of this webinar, and to the association's Member Services Coordinator, Tricia Klim, for manning the virtual help desk in the lounge. Technology isn't easy, and it is often frustrating. Our staff, however, has been great to help us when needed. If you ever feel the need for extra training or practice when joining a virtual meeting, please call or email the IRTA staff. They are always happy to help. We have a winner, James Kurth. Our second winner, Marjorie Sokansky.